address them and do that in the most efficient and minimalistic way possible. And that, of course, would turn on anyone to Lifewave if they have the opportunity to experience those benefits for themselves. So I was first patched in March of 2022 at a conference. There was a booth. I had some shoulder pain at the time. Ice Wave was placed on my shoulder over my suit jacket, and I immediately experienced a 50% reduction in shoulder pain, doubled my range of motion. So that was absolutely fascinating. And then I'm very interested in supplements, and probably many of us supplements, and I have been taking glutathione supplements myself for a long time, recommending those to many people, paying a lot of money for high quality glutathione supplements, never really feeling any different, but understanding this is probably really good for me in reducing inflammation. And then what a very interesting concept that you can put this phototherapy patch on your skin. It's going to reflect your own light energy back into you and activate your own glutathione, perhaps by 300%. So you don't have to actually swallow the supplement to get the benefits of glutathione. So I tried my first glutathione patch, and I happened to have extensive seasonal allergies, and it was in allergy season. I put the patch on and immediately stopped sneezing. Wore it for the recommended 12 hours, took the patch off, started sneezing again. So I was like, wow, I'm actually experiencing the benefits of glutathione, even though I haven't actually swallowed any glutathione. So that was one experience that really had me on the hook. And then, in Arizona, we hike a lot because it's a desert and there's not a lot else to do. So I had purchased the carnosine patches to experiment with those and do these very standard hikes in the mountains, in the desert, and started wearing carnosine. And within 1, 2, 3 sessions, I felt like I was on an escalator floating along these trails and up the mountains. I'm like, I'm not getting fit that fast. There is something here that feels like it's transporting me. My level of muscle and fitness performance was elevated so dramatically with the introduction of the carnosine patch, and that was just beyond fascinating. And so I've been hooked ever since, and using the patches for myself, and recommending those as I have opportunity. So that's my personal experience with Lifewave. I know many people have had their lives saved. We have very dramatic testimonials. Mine aren't so dramatic, but they're very important and deeply meaningful to me.
Well, I'd love to ask you again before you go further. You said that you found out about this at kind of like a conference trade show kind of thing, an expo, and someone put the Ice Wave over your coat jacket and it worked?
Yes. So the idea is that Lifewave patches will be activated as far as 6 inches from the surface of your body, that you are still in the biofield of that person, and the patch will activate and it will be effective up to 6 inches away from you. And if you happen to be wearing a suit made of wood and you were covered in 2x4s, the patches would be effective through that physical barrier.
Wow.
So, right. So over top of your suit jacket, someone put stickers, and I got the benefit in my shoulder. We put them on our skin, but interestingly, they don't have to be directly in contact with your skin to activate. Wonderful. Which is, again, just speaks to kind of the spooky power of the whole technology. Mm-hmm. And that was just very interesting to me. So let's be aware that that's a possibility, that we can put these on the outsides of our garments.
Fantastic.
So that's kind of my own experience, and of course I've expanded my range of usage with the patches dramatically, like all of us has once we get turned on to the technology. And then I'm looking for ways to, understanding the dramatic health benefit that I felt, I'm naturally curious, how can I measure these things the way we measure other indices of performance in cardiology that would give us additional mechanistic insights into how the patches are actually changing our bodies, in a way that us cardiologists are used to receiving that information. So after thinking about it and plodding along, I was able to design some studies that did exactly that, and the results turned out to be quite astonishing. So I will have my second presentation at the American Heart Association on November 18 in Chicago, a moderated poster session on Lifewave technology and the effects on global heart function. So that is a clinical presentation, and that follows on the heels of another acceptance to the American Heart Association from August of this year at the Basic Science Conference, where I presented a more limited data set at that conference and received a lot of attention from the basic scientists working in the cardiovascular space as well. And people are just very open and very curious and very interested, and wow, that's so neat to look at you, and that's really exciting. So really well received when shown to quite a sophisticated audience of some very accomplished research types, which was nice to see.
Yes,
sometimes when we're pushing through all the skepticism, it seems like that wouldn't be the case. But in point of fact, people were extremely receptive, and I'm looking forward to going back to Chicago to make that presentation.
Mm-hmm.
This is how you protect your house and family from dangerous intruders.
This new subscription-free mini Wi-Fi camera delivers more advanced security features than traditional home security systems without the need for costly installations or monthly fees. It's making traditional home security cameras a thing of the past. Introducing Mini Wi-Fi Camera, a breakthrough security camera developed by Alex and Ben, former employees of a home security firm in Silicon Valley. Their innovation has turned the home security industry upside down, already saving homeowners thousands of dollars. As you might expect, the big security camera companies aren't too pleased about this. After years of working as technicians for a surveillance company in Silicon Valley, Alex and Ben realized that homeowners were in desperate need of a more advanced yet affordable security solution that didn't require subscriptions. They saw how outdated and overpriced traditional security cameras were, so they decided to take matters into their own hands. With years of technical know-how and a genuine desire to serve their community, they created a unique plug-and-play mini Wi-Fi camera that offers superior security and ease of use. When their former company offered $2.7 million for the rights to their invention, Alex and Ben turned it down. That's when they knew they had something truly game-changing. A group of investors joined their mission to make home security more affordable, and they perfected Mini Wi-Fi Camera for mass production. Mini Wi-Fi Camera is the most cost-effective way to enhance your home security. Unlike traditional home surveillance cameras that are fixed and offer limited coverage, this Mini Wi-Fi camera provides outstanding security benefits. It records in higher resolutions and includes features like enhanced LED night vision, a wide 150-degree viewing angle, remote live feed, two-way audio, full HD video, and more. And the best part, you can control all of these features directly from your smartphone or computer. Whether you're a tech-savvy electrician or a stay-at-home mum with no technical experience, setting up Mini Wi-Fi Camera is incredibly simple. Just follow these 3 easy steps. First, download the app. Next, scan the QR code with your phone to connect to your Wi-Fi. Mini cameras, magnetic base attaches to any surface, so you can place it anywhere. Walls, fridges, garages, or even take it with you on the go. No cables, no batteries required, you're all set. In less than a minute, you can monitor your home from your phone or computer. Best of all, this mini Wi-Fi camera saves you hundreds of dollars every year, compared to traditional security systems. Since its release, over 1 million units have already been shipped, but the major home security companies are still trying to fight back. They've limited its availability in stores, so now it's only available online, and they're pushing to take that away too. The good news is Ben's and Alex's company is offering a huge discount on Mini Wi-Fi Camera before it becomes the new gold standard in home security. But this deal has caused demand to skyrocket, so it won't be available for long. Click the link below to purchase Mini Wi-Fi Camera directly from the official website. The creators are so confident in their product that they're offering a 30-day, no questions asked money-back guarantee. With the need for better home security at an all-time high, there's no time to waste. Click the link now to get yours at a 50% discount.
The fact is, we've come here right now. Millions of us lightworkers have incarnated on this planet right now at the same time together at exactly this specific moment to witness and support the universal awakening of humanity already underway, to finally get it right this time, to win. And even while this is true, so many of us are trapped in struggle and suffering ourselves. We're being held back, or in many cases, we're holding ourselves back from shining our lights and sharing our gifts in a much bigger way. A big part of my soul's purpose and calling here is to help beautiful souls just like you clear this one most awful imprint. And I'm so grateful to say that in just the past 2 years alone, I've supported over 25,000 sacred souls in this way. Many who have cleared this block with me have experienced profound and life-changing benefits, including miracle-level financial breakthroughs, the spontaneous shapeshifting of physical health challenges, greater clarity around and a deeper connection to their soul's purpose, greater power and ease in their gifts, total transformation of difficult relationship dynamics, kundalini awakenings, third eye openings, direct transmissions and downloads from their highest self, other peak experiences, and more. The Lightworkers Persecution Imprint is a block that limits us in so many ways, including in ways we don't even realize until after we've cleared it. Clearing this #1 worst hidden Lightworker block very often unlocks a massive upgrade in our mind-body energy system, and a massive upgrade in many parts of our lives, including in parts of our lives we're not thinking about or expecting. I'll be leading a large group clearing of this block very soon, and I'd so love it if you would join me in our beautiful community of like-minded, like-hearted souls for a super powerful session during which we'll be doing the deepest, most thorough clearings of the Lightworkers Persecution Imprint I've ever led. You can attend online via phone or computer, and you can register right now for a price of your choosing. I don't want anyone to be excluded from attending this special live event. Money is no obstacle here. During this special live event, you will very likely experience some of the most profound clearings and transformations you've ever experienced. And you will leave with a newfound sense of expansion, wholeness, and peace, perhaps unlike any you've felt before. With over 5,000 beautiful souls from over 100 countries planning to attend, this could be one of the biggest, most important events of the year for healers, empaths, starseeds, sensitive souls, and lightworkers of all kinds from around the world. The shared benefit, worldwide ripple effects, and shift in the collective consciousness are going to be tremendous. It's going to be a life-changing, world-changing, limit-shattering, and timeline-shifting event for you, for all of us, and for humanity. If you want to join, co-create, play, and heal with us, please click the link right now to register, and I'll so much look forward to seeing you there. Many blessings.
I'm excited to see everything that you've already discovered and that you're going to be sharing with them. Thank you.
Yeah. So I can, this might be a good time to go to a screen share.
Absolutely.
And I can take you through my findings a little bit here. Looks like something just got dropped on top of me. There we go. So feel free to ask any questions, interrupt. Don't let me go too fast. I'll kind of walk you through what we've found, and really interested to see what your feedback might be.
Wonderful.
So for the purposes of American Heart Association in November, the study we're presenting is titled Phototherapy to Stimulate Carnosine Activity for the Enhancement of Global Heart Function, a promising therapy for congestive heart failure. And again, that's coming up on November 18. And a little bit of my bio here, just as background for our audience. This is kind of my educational trajectory. I began in mechanical engineering and then did a master's of bioengineering before going to McGill University for an MD, PhD internal medicine. And then I went on to do cardiovascular fellowship at Columbia University in New York, and then the heart rhythm specialty coming back to the West Coast, where I'm originally from, at UCLA, then back out east for one more year at Virginia Commonwealth University, and I've been in practice ever since 2010, an independent clinical practice. So right now, I should expand this for you. Sorry about that. So right now, my 2 practice locations are one at Natural Heart Doctor in Scottsdale, Arizona. That's a second opinion consult service where we do Zoom consults for cardiology patients all over the country, advising them on how to understand root causes of disease and hopefully reverse those root causes. A lot of detox, a lot of gut health work, natural supplements to help people eventually transition off of their pharmaceuticals is often the goal of that practice. It's very satisfying. We meet very interesting and motivated individuals, and I'm happy to help any individual through the Natural Heart Doctor service. And again, that's available to anyone in the country through Zoom. And then I'm also a member of a group in Lake Havasu, Arizona, and that's a traditional, conventional cardiology, electrophysiology practice. And really a great setup and situation there. We're helping a lot of individuals. That service is available on your insurance. If you've made one visit to Lake Havasu, we can do the rest of your care by telehealth if that's appropriate. So anyone is welcome to come and visit me in Lake Havasu should they wish to. Wonderful tourist destination, lots of snowbirds. Our population triples in winter because it's such a nice climate and right on the water. So yeah, so daily life is a mix between the electrophysiology laboratory where we're ablating complex rhythms or putting in pacemakers, defibrillators, and office-based practice. And really a privilege to be in that healing clinical role. So I'm excited all the time for my daily real world practice life. Moving on to Lifewave and this technology that is so fascinating, and I've tried to understand it a little bit better and to put it into the context of human biofield energetics, which is a topic I had been researching independently before I was introduced to Lifewave. We know that the Lifewave patches contain a crystal that reflects back our own biofield energy, certain frequencies of our own energy back into our bodies. And that's often done along acupuncture points where that energy can penetrate back into us more effectively. But what is the origins of the biofield energy that our bodies are constantly emanating? And certainly the heart is 5,000 times stronger electrically than, say, the brain, for example, and that probably is the largest source of electrical current in our bodies. And that generates an aura, a biofield energy field of electromagnetism that can be measured 3 to 4 feet away from our bodies, up to 10 feet away from our bodies, depending on the individual. And so that would be represented in this figure on your screen here with the larger torus field. Mm-hmm. Now we know there's also cerebral spinal fluid moving up and down our spinal canal, bathing our brains, that contains charged particles, and whenever charged particles are in motion, they generate an associated electromagnetic field. And so from that motion along our spines, we will generate a secondary field, which is illustrated by the smaller torus around the individual in the blue photo. When we are next to individuals, our energy fields will overlap with theirs, and there is measurements to confirm that our energy can directly influence the people next to us and vice versa. So being energetic beings is a very exciting thing, and the fact that we can influence our neighbors with our energy is fascinating as well. So just a little bit more on the movement of cerebral spinal fluid. As you breathe, you're actually flexing your sacrum, and that contributes to propelling cerebral spinal fluid up and down your spine, for example, and the sutures in your skull also demonstrate some flexibility and respond to the changes in pressure as we breathe, and both of those forces are circulating the cerebral spinal fluid, which is a fair amount of motion of charged particles, which does generate an electromagnetic field. So this is part of the energy that I think that the patches are reflecting back into us. To complicate that a little bit, we have a series of nerve ganglia or tangles of nerves, mini brains that exist along our central spinal column, 7 major energy centers, which are a nerve plexus, which are paired with a major organ and also a major gland. And so the electrophysiologic activity in each of those centers has charge motion. It's generating a certain amount of field energy in and of itself. And each of these combinations of major plexus and gland correspond to what's traditionally known as our system of chakras, which is a very real phenomena and has a physiologic basis. So we have 7 chakras beginning in our root chakra, ascending through the heart chakra, throat, pineal gland, and finally the crown chakra. And interestingly, for those of us who practice medicine or work in healthcare, the picture of all of this has been understood since antiquity, and it is embodied in our symbol of medicine and healthcare, which is the caduceus, where we have a central column representing your spine. The spine peaks at the pine cone, a historic universal symbol of your pineal gland. The spinal fluid ascending along your spine is represented by twisting serpents that finally arrive at the pineal gland. Those are the Kundalini serpents in ancient Egyptian. That's the ascending flow of energy, which will then activate your pineal gland at the level of your 6th energy center. And with that activation comes the liberation of the self, represented by wings. And finally, the crowning attainment of your full human potential with activation of the crown chakra, which is your 7th energy center, also corresponding to the pituitary gland. So we have this energy system, all of these energy mechanisms. The human body has 50 trillion to 100 trillion cells, depending on your size. Each of those cells have hundreds of mitochondria, which are constantly conducting biochemical reactions. Those biochemical reactions are releasing photons of light that have to go somewhere, emanate from our bodies. And this combined activity is contributing to the human biofield, which is the energy that the patches are then activated by and able to reflect back into us. So very interesting by way of introduction. So not the first thought, but a thought is to say, look, if the patches are activated by your own biofield, but then they are reflecting energy back into you, they should also change your biofield energy in a way that might be measurable. So the patches activate, the biofield activates the patches, and they reflexly change the biofield energy in response to the light that is reflected back into you. So this is presently unpublished data, but it's another study that we are conducting at the present time, and that would be titled Impact of a Cutaneous Phototherapy Device on Human Biofield Energetics, a Potent Interaction Accounting for Therapeutic Efficacy. So here you can see, in this volunteer who happens to be myself, a aura photo. They're commercially available. They're in crystal shops, lots of those around Arizona, for example. And the software can take a picture of your energy field. And here you see on the top at baseline my 3 pictures of my energy field, frontal and in profile. And I'm predominantly red with a tinge of orange at baseline, corresponding to me really emanating from a root chakra, for example. Which I find most often when I have a photo like this taken. So that's kind of where I live. I'm kind of a root chakra person, kind of primal, I guess, in that regard. And then with our protocol, and we tried various combinations of patches, and the ones that gave us the most interesting color shifts, which is what we're looking for, was Alavita. So Alavita applied to the forehead, and our protocol was to simply do the baseline photo, tell the person, try not to change your internal state. Don't go get excited or worked up or angry. Just stay in a calm, positive state of mind. And 30 minutes after application of Alavita, let's repeat your aura photo. So here it is, 30 minutes later, and now I'm a green-yellow aura. So I've gone from root sacral chakra up to heart chakra. with the Alavita patch. Now we know the Alavita patch will do rebalancing of a number of your major organs, but has its greatest activity in the brain. And it's in the brain even when it's placed in your above the navel, for example, around the back of the neck. Putting on your forehead is probably the strongest effect, but it really does activate the frontal lobe. So we would expect it to pull energy up towards those energy centers that are in the head. Whether it's the pineal gland or the throat or the crown chakra, and that's definitely the sort of effect that we would see. So the software from this camera, it will generate a couple of graphs for you. And here you can see the baseline balance of each of your 7 energy centers from sacred up to crown. So I was very low in crown, very high in sacral energy, giving me my overall red color. And then with Alavita, we saw the sacrum pulled down by 2, and those energies were injected into the crown chakra, which went up by 2. With some oscillation of the intervening chakras, such that my overall color shift was from red to yellow-green. And then with that, you get a redistribution of mind, body, spirit energies in a way where energy was taken out of my body, for example, and injected into spirit, which was very interesting. Another representation of the same phenomena, but the energy shifting towards crown chakral activity, as was activated by the Alavita patch. So very interesting how the energy system is perturbed by Alavita, and how Alavita is pulling you up towards its major source of activity. Other interesting things to go along with that are rates of vibration. We're all told in success classes and whatever else that we need to raise our rates of vibration to become more effective human beings and individuals. And this graph, the software from this program will output your vibrational rates corresponding to physical, emotional, mental, intuitive. And I'm not sure how it's calculating all these things, but it is very interesting and corroborative. Where here you're at kind of the 300 kilohertz to 200 kilohertz range, and then with Alavita being pulled up to the 500, 600 range, with a nice even balancing of physical, emotional, intuitive, mental being a little bit higher than that. So with that upward energy shift that we're all told is so good for us, with an energy rebalancing at those higher frequencies as our energy is pulled up to the crown chakra level. Very interesting that the software could detect that as well. And then it will also give you a plot of your emotional stability, where the number of oscillations in this graph, for example, the more oscillations they are, the more sort of agitated or stressed you are. And then as that balances out and those oscillations are reduced, you become balanced, centered, less emotionally labile, for example. And so with that, despite the increase in frequency, the increase in energy level, there was that energy stabilization that also occurred, and the graph picked up on that. So some very interesting insights into the impact of the patches on our physiology, which I find fascinating. First of all, it tells you these things are really changing you, and you're activating the patch, but the patch is going back into you, and it really is making changes in your body. And this has been a very interesting way to quantify that and understand what's possible. I'd love to just examine all sorts of patch combinations with the Oraphoto technology that will hopefully happen in the future. So just by way of contrast, here is a friend of mine who came with me to do these experiments, and as a volunteer, he's a devout Muslim individual, prays 5 times a day, speaks 8 different languages, is very intellectual. His baseline color was already blue, so he's already at the level of his throat and pineal chakra, for example, at baseline. So he walks in with that. Lots of orthopedic issues, so knees are a problem, and you can see these energy deficits in his biofield associated with his back and with his knees, where a lot of orthopedic issues, and the energy deficit that results from that. So again, that's good corroborative evidence that the oraphoto really is sampling your energy accurately. We applied the patch, and after 30 minutes, Alavita also pulled him higher. There wasn't much higher he could go, but you see the purple hues start to emerge, which is the crown chakral activation, and that energy was surrounding him, and you see that the energy deficits begin to blur a little bit, so they smudged. So even that energy rebalance was also bringing energy into areas of deficit that was resulting from those older injuries. So is your shift in color the whole story? I'm not sure. He was thrilled with the increase in brain clarity he experienced immediately with the application of Alavita, so had a strong clinical effect and experience of benefit, even though his oraphoto wasn't, as big of a leap. So it doesn't tell the whole story about therapeutic efficacy with the patches, but still very interesting. And he was just thrilled with the whole experience. So moving on to some of the conventional studies that we've done, I have a couple of case reports, and these are published, so they are available online. You can download them. You are free to use them in your business contacts and to show to individuals examples of how the patches can be efficacious in literature, which, even though they're case reports, these are peer-reviewed sources, which indicates a certain level of credibility. So this is a common scenario in cardiology practice where individuals will undergo heart catheterization using a radial approach. So the radial artery is in your wrist. You put a sheath into the radial artery, and then you'll use this to advance catheters up to the heart to do your angiogram, for example. So this happens a lot. And as you can imagine, there can be injury resulting from this. The needle stick can damage the radial nerve. You can have trauma to the blood vessel. Other sorts of things can happen. One of my patients came back from their angiogram, and they had pain, 5 of 10 pain from the procedure, weakness in their pincer grip. They could no longer grasp a sheet of paper enough to hang on to it, and then numbness. So their 2-point discrimination was quite markedly reduced, and this was very concerning for the individual. And I made an appointment to visit them in their home, and we tried Icewave for them using the patching strategy to map around the site of injury to find what vector might be most effective in reducing the pain. And then when we found that vector, realized that we'd brought down the pain from 5 of 10 down to 1 of 10. Pincer strength returned to normal, and the 2-point discrimination in terms of sensitivity also returned. So I actually went out and got a gripometer. So you squeeze and it measures the strength of your grip to prove that with the patches, the grip in the injured arm was equal and opposite to the grip strength in the unaffected arm. So that was a very dramatic result, which really addressed 3 modalities of function. It was the strength, the pain, and then the 2-point discrimination, all addressed virtually instantaneously with the Icewave patches. So that was a nice clinical write-up, and that is now available in the literature, and that actually found its way into our studies last year. Here's one a little bit more recently that took more time. Sorry if these images are a little bit gory. I think Lifewavers can handle that, but here is a infected pacemaker pocket. So the pacemaker has been removed, and because of all the debridement of infected material that had to go with that, leaves a fairly sizable crater wound, as you can see. One accepted strategy for wound healing is just to leave the wound open, and you pack it with a sterile dressing every day or every other day, and that wound will heal by secondary intention. So rather than sewing this closed, you just allow it to heal from the inside out, and that's healing by secondary intention. So with this particular patient, I gifted her with X39 patches to place next to the device every day. And so she would have her regular wound dressings, and it was visited by a nurse every other day, and was wearing X39 every day. This is an 83-year-old woman who's largely wheelchair bound. And the wound care company said they noticed 50% faster resolution in her lesion compared to standard wounds that they saw. And the lady got better appetite, her sleep apnea improved, she was feeling more energetic and mentally clear, so having a great experience. But we just had this accepted to the Journal of Innovation in Cardiac Rhythm Management. It is not yet in press, but I was just notified yesterday that this will be the citation when it does appear later this year, in December it looks like. And there we have 50% faster healing documented, and a good example of that that will appear in the clinical literature in response to X39. So that wound closed in about 6 weeks' time, and it would have taken much longer. And then you can see from where the scab formed to nice maturation of the scar kind of at the 16-week period, just how nicely that scar is resolving. And that's kind of where we stopped the study and made our report. But I was thrilled to have that accepted. This is a PubMed indexed study, so it would appear in PubMed, and you'll be able to Google that one shortly as well. And please feel free to use this in your product demonstrations and in your approaches, attempts to influence others towards the utility of Lifewave. These will be available for everyone. And of course, the message is, if it can heal this so much faster, why would it not heal anything else so much faster? And since we're all having little internal injuries all the time, and our bodies are always trying to heal from those little struggles that are unavoidable, why not wear the patches on a regular basis so that you're always healing so much faster in response to the injuries that we're going to inevitably experience. So for me, it's just a argument, another demonstration to keep patching and to aggressively patch in the setting of a particular injury. Here's another one that I'll show you, and this one is been submitted to the Journal of Journal of Invasive Cardiac Electrophysiology, and I'm waiting to hear back on that. But here's a very large woman who had a pacemaker implanted here, and because it's very hard to achieve hemostasis sometimes when that's happened, has a lot of bruising around the sites, lots of swelling, lots of bruising that occurred. This is about 5 days after the device was implanted. The bandages are still on. Very interested in complementary therapies. So for her, we did X39, carnosine, and glutathione on a daily basis, rotating those around the wound, moving them so they were in different places at different days, but always the combination of the three, looking for a synergistic action compared to just X39 by itself. So from this scary looking scenario to here, completely nice, very nicely healed and well on her way to being better. The time difference between those photos is, please guess, it's in point of fact 6 days. So I posted those photos on Twitter, now X, to the electrophysiology community, the community of my colleagues, and I said, gentlemen and gentlewomen, please estimate for me the healing time that you would expect in your practice between these two photos. And here is that 46 votes final result of what other electrophysiologists would have anticipated. 4 weeks was the number one estimate, but many folks thought that would take 6 weeks and even 8 weeks to heal. So when in fact the healing is only 6 days, that is over greater than 500% acceleration in the healing time compared to what would be expected. So a very dramatic result that appreciated by the professional community who's dealing with these unfortunate things more often than they would like, and really a very convincing example of the synergy that can occur when you apply multiple patches of different types in combination to address a particular problem. So dramatic wound healing with that combination of patches in a way that was far above and beyond what my professional community would have anticipated without that technology. So that's a very exciting report, and I'm hoping that that one will appear in the literature shortly and be available to all of us to reveal as well. And I'll show these as by way of background at American Heart Association during that poster presentation. Moving on to the topic of the study at hand, and that is the effect of carnosine on heart function. Let's talk a little bit about carnosine. So this is a figure from a article that's in the medical literature of all the things that carnosine can accomplish. So what is carnosine? Carnosine is a very simple protein. It's the combination of 2 amino acids, so a very small protein that is diffuse throughout the body. And carnosine is involved in all sorts of functions in the body. It is involved in energy metabolism, facilitating mitochondrial function. It modulates the immune system. It protects you against toxicity from different toxic proteins in the body. It prevents cancer tumor cells. It increases tumor senescence, so it tends to turn tumors off. It mops up free radicals. It helps you clear heavy metals. It does tumor angiogenesis, rejuvenation of senescent proteins. All of these things are recognized to be accomplished by this very important protein in our molecule that is known as carnosine. So we have one of the Lifewave patches is of course named carnosine, and that patch will rev up the activity of this carnosine molecule, which has all of these effects throughout the body. So no wonder with carnosine that we talk about anti-cancer effects. Again, unproven that the patch can do it, but we know this molecule is involved in that. Suppression of tumors, improvement in energy, reduction of inflammation, chelation of heavy metals, and detox. We can think that we're helping our bodies accomplish all of these things by enhancing the activity of the carnosine that's already in our bodies. Again, we don't have to supplement on this, scoop it onto our cereal or what have you. It's in our bodies. We're simply enhancing the activity of that endogenous compound. So this would be the intro for the folks at American Heart. There is a field in cardiology called cardiac optogenetics. It's basic science, but what they're trying to do is they're trying to genetically modify cells in the body to express light-sensitive proteins, like you might find in a firefly or in a glowfish. And then once you've done that, perhaps you could artificially shine light into the body to activate those proteins and accomplish physiologic effects. So this is very much the basic science stage of investigation, but it is a field in cardiology that most heart rhythm specialists at least know about, because there are sessions about this topic at our annual meetings. So my jumping off spot for Lifewave is to say, hey, we know that optogenetics is a real thing. Well, here we have a very interesting technology that says, you already have light-sensitive proteins in your body. Your body is a flashlight. It generates its own light. We can use your own light to activate the light-sensitive proteins that are already in your body in a way that has beneficial biologic effects. So why not try it? So we know the Lifewave patches, they're very natural. They can contain a plant-based amino acid, some oxygen, some sugar, some salt, other natural organic compounds that forms a crystal that's in the patch that is able to reflect back light of certain frequencies. So again, nothing's going into your body. You are taking advantage of the light that your body emits to reflect back into the body, which then is able to activate light-sensitive proteins and that are already in your body in a way that can influence your metabolic activity for health benefits. So Lifewave is a subset of the developing field of cardiac optogenetics. And for me, that makes it a very legitimate tool and places it within the field of basic science cardiology very nicely. And that's the approach I would use to talk to the folks at American Heart and to discuss with my colleagues, for example. So our hypothesis is that a cutaneous phototherapy device known to stimulate carnosine activity may enhance myocardial performance as determined by echocardiographic indices of heart function. So in cardiology, we perform ultrasounds of the heart all the time. Ultrasounds are a great study because they give you a tremendous amount of information and there's no radiation that's imparted to the patient. It's all ultrasound energy like we use for babies, for example. So for research purposes, we recruited healthy volunteers, 32 subjects, age 42 to 85, nice blend of male and female. And for the purposes of research, we would plaster carnosine patches over the heart. So over your left thorax here, where we know that the heart sits, wrapping right around into the axilla, because a lot of the heart is deep in your body. We want to completely surround that organ and flood the organ with carnosine activation to the full extent that it was possible. Again, for the purposes of research, you don't have to do this at home, and I'm not sure it'd be wise to anyway, but we wanted to really see if we could elicit a meaningful biologic effect by saturating the carnosine mechanism. So then we would perform an echocardiogram of the heart, ultrasound of the heart, measuring the function, the tissue velocities, rates of blood flow across the valves, both at baseline, and then again 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes after applying the patches. So here's a representative example of a test subject, and those are all carnosine patches from the sternum right around to the axilla. Everything there is carnosine. And I can tell you about the story about how we came to this protocol as well. You know, at first it was like, we're going to use energy enhancers everywhere, and let's put on some Eon, let's put on some X39, and the heart function actually went down. And had to think about that for a long time. But what I think happened is that the patches were relaxing all of the peripheral vasculature. And when the peripheral vasculature all relaxes, the heart at rest says, I don't have to work as hard to maintain this. So it actually was beating a little bit less forcefully because we had lowered all of the peripheral resistance. So that's probably what was going on in those studies. It's more exciting when you can improve the function of the heart. And that switched us to finally discovering this carnosine protocol where we're saying we're just going to use one patch. It's going to be carnosine. It's going to be lots of carnosine. It's going to be right around the heart. And let's see what change that has. So here's a representative measure, and I'll show you videos of this in a sec, but these are the kinds of measurements. This is your left ventricle, the main pumping chamber of your heart, your right ventricle, right atrium, left atrium, and we measure the squeeze function, so how much the main pumping chamber collapses per heartbeat. Here, 70%. Very nice and normal. Different measures, 77% with a different measurement technique. Then apply the carnosine patches, and 30 minutes later, that 70% has gone up to 78%. And this 77% up to 82%. So wow, the heart was in fact making a more vigorous squeeze in the presence of the carnosine patches. Here is one of our healthy volunteers. This is a 54-year-old woman, and I'll try to run these movies side by side so you can compare them. But there you have the function at baseline and in the presence of carnosine. That's a video of the left ventricle. So that cavity is the left ventricle, and the amount that it empties will tell you is the overall squeeze function. So I think you can see on the carnosine where some white, very echo-intensive structures on the side of the heart come much closer to each other. They're almost touching in the presence of carnosine, whereas they never quite get that close on our baseline images. And this is a 70-year-old man, And we measured a very large change for him from 62% up to 76%. That's a 14% change in his overall ejection fraction. And that is an astonishing result. Across 30 subjects, we could claim 6 to 8% improvement on average in ejection fraction, but some individuals were much greater than that. And very significant for cardiology in that 55% is the low end of normal. So if you're 55%, you're still normal. If your ejection fraction is as low as 35%, it's like you're going to die and we need to implant a defibrillator because your risk of sudden cardiac death justifies that you live the rest of your life with a defibrillator to protect you. So that's a 20-point spread, 35 to 55. And we use lots of drugs, lots of intervention, pharmaceuticals to try to tease up heart function when it's low. And every gain that we make is significant. Did you get it up by 5%? Did you get it up by 10%? It means everything to somebody in terms of their symptoms, in terms of their longevity. So to have that be your daily routine of titrating drugs for heart failure, for example, to then come in and see this result where we put stickers on your chest, no drugs or chemicals go into your body, and after 30 minutes, the pump function of your heart has gone up by 14%, and it's visibly obvious that that's the case. That result is astonishing. It's just astonishing. And that's the interest for American Heart Association. So that will be really fun to see how it's received in that particular forum. And of course, we made some average measurements, some statistical significance to prove that result overall. And again, we could claim 6 to 8% on average because some people had very small responses, kind of 2 to 3%, whereas other ones had these dramatic results that you could you could appreciate. I kind of skipped over this slide, but this is another example of from a 54-year-old woman, for example, one of our volunteers. Are you guys seeing this error message on the screen?
Whether you're buying or selling, do it big with Auto Trader.
All I see on the screen is someone drew a green line on the right-hand side of your screen, and I don't know how to get that off of there.
You don't see this low system resources may affect audio quality? There,
No.
I think I killed it.
Nope, not at all. You're
There
good.
you go. So sorry, this is the 70-year-old man. That's the one I showed you. Somehow this is our 54-year-old gal. Just another example. The echo images are a little bit clearer here, but just look at the squeeze function of the baseline image compared to the carnosine image. You know, which heart looks more vigorous to you? And again, we measured her when we made all the technical measurements, kind of a 12% increase. But there, for me, it's readily apparent that the squeeze function, I thought I had these on continuous loop, but there you can see them together. You know, much more impressive in the carnosine arm of the study. Just remarkable. I mean, those pictures are 30 minutes apart in the same person. They haven't taken any medication. They haven't eaten. They haven't worked out. All they've done is laid there on the echo table. They've done nothing between these two studies except have these patches applied over their heart. So yeah, really just really a very compelling result with a whole host of implications for the field of cardiology. And so there's some of our average measurements. A few other things that we could measure is when the heart contracts, you can also measure with Doppler and echo the velocity of the muscle contraction. So does the muscle actually squeeze faster in the presence of the carnosine than at baseline? And we proved that, yes, that was the case along the interventricular septum, which separates the two major pumping chambers. So another echocardiographic index of function. Here the tissue is moving at 6.5 centimeters per second at baseline, and then up to 7.31 centimeters per second in the presence of carnosine. So a nice improvement there. And then you think, well, if the tissue is contracting faster and if it's squeezing more, then you would expect the rates of blood flow through the heart to also be faster. And indeed, they were also faster. So here we can measure the rates of blood flow across the heart valves as the blood makes its way through that organ, for example, whether that was in between the top and the bottom chambers or exiting out of the bottom chambers. We can measure the velocity of the actual blood flow crossing those valve structures before and after the application of the carnosine patches, noticing a statistically significant increase in blood flow velocities, which corroborates the measurements of the left ventricular ejection fraction, which are so powerful. So lots of blah blah for our friends at American Heart Association. 8% improvement in ejection fraction, 6 to 8% improvement overall with changes in tissue velocity and blood flow velocity. So we have a self-powered wearable device that enhances myocardial function and overall myocardial performance and overall heart function. And this indeed represents compelling therapy perhaps for congestive heart failure at a future date. So I've done a lot of talking. Just to summarize what we've talked about here, we talked about biofield modulation. We saw that the Alavita patch can give you a cephalad or headwards shift in your dominant expression of energy, achieving an overall chakra rebalance, increase your rates of vibration of the physiologic systems within your body, while imposing an overall energetic stability for your overall expression arising from the human aura, for example. And then we looked at some wound healing examples that were very compelling. We saw improved strength, mobility, and sensation with the Icewave patch in the setting of pain and some tissue injury. 50% faster wound healing with the presence of X39 alone, and up to 500% faster healing with the combination of X39, carnosine, and glutathione. So very dramatic changes in healing rates, which is exciting. And then for our main event, the enhanced cardiac function brought about by the carnosine patches, with an overall improvement of the left ventricular ejection fraction of 6 to 8%, a statistically significant result in a large cohort of individuals across both genders and a large age spectrum. And with that, improvements in tissue velocity and in mitral inflow blood flow velocities through the heart. So that's our research findings to date. Really exciting and so much fun, and looking forward to what comes next and how that's received by my colleagues at American Heart later next month.
Fantastic. I was just getting ready to ask you, can you please put back up your contact information? Because everyone was asking that in the chat. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. Dr. Knelier, this information.
Pretty cool, right?
Oh my gosh. The text I'm getting, the chat messages, the private messages in the chat. It is a game changer. It absolutely is a game changer for so many people. So I know we have a few minutes left, but I have a couple questions just to make sure that, people understand. So for let's say an everyday purpose of using the patches, how many patches would someone use of the X39, of the carnosine, of glutathione, or anything? How many would they use?
I would say up to 2 of the same kind per day.
Okay. Perfect.
That would kind of be my guess, being assured that you're going to have a true physiologic response.
And how long would they wear those patches? Duration? How many months?
Well, if you were a heart patient, not my official advice, but I would start patching and I would go into my next echocardiogram wearing my patches. Typically, in cardiology, we think in terms of 3-month intervals. If you change a drug and you expect it to influence heart function, for example, we would typically say, let's go on it for 3 months and then repeat your echo and see if we see a durable improvement.
Okay.
And I think those timelines for getting a sustainable, meaningful benefit are still going to be relevant.
Okay, so 90 days. So you're saying we could use 1 to 2 of the X39s, of the carnosine, and you would say 90 days before you went back and had it retested.
Yeah. And that's also corresponds to what your insurance will pay for. So probably what your doctor's office is willing to do or able to do.
Fantastic.
So change in therapy and a repeat echo at 3 months is kind of what the insurance companies look for. So to have your insurance pay for that measurement with your local doc or cardiology office, it's probably going to be what it requires.
Okay. And what about like with heart racing? If their heart rate, if they feel like their heart rate is increasing, what would you recommend for that? Because I hear that from time to time. I felt like my heart was racing a little bit or my heart rate went up. What would explain that?
Oh, wow. Yeah. So we're getting into, all the arrhythmias, whether it's an inappropriate sinus tachycardia. We've seen lots of that post-COVID, for example. Or are you flipping your rhythm? Are you going into atrial fibrillation or an SVT? Or is there something else going on?
Mm-hmm.
I would like to think that the patches are going to improve heart health in a way that does stabilize rhythms over time.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a research result to really demonstrate that, although I think it would be very interesting.
What color comes to mind when you see me? Red, right? The color of love. I'm gold, divine. I'm purple, like royalty. It takes more than one color to define us. Inecto hair color. Express yourself with 14 vibrant shades of summer. Inecto.
Well, maybe that's something
It's going to be hard to really accurately predict what happens to any one rhythm in an individual,
right.
based on what we know right now.
And maybe that's something you and David could get into when you have your conversation on the studies.
Oh yeah, it'd be so exciting.
I know. So I want everyone to know that Dr. Knelier's information is up here. If you have further questions, like he said, his natural heart doctor, that information is for his telehealth. And then the Lakeside Heart and Vascular Center is a one-time in-person visit. And then after that, it can happen online as well. So if you, they can contact you through either of these facilities. Is that correct?
If you want a formal meeting and evaluation, those are both appropriate. If you'd like to email me and just ask questions and stuff informally, I'm very open to that as well. I want to be a part of this community and available to people. But if you'd like a formal eval, one of these two channels is the way to go. Otherwise, questions and comments, I'm happy to answer emails and just connect with people individually.
Well, that's fantastic and very generous for you to offer that. But you are a cardiologist and you're very busy. And so if someone does have heart issues or conditions, I highly recommend you actually do a formal evaluation and have him take a look at what's going on a much grander scope, minus, versus just sending a quick email and expecting a quick answer without a full evaluation. I know there's a lot to someone's health and what's going on with them and their heart, and